Caitlin Clark hasn't touched the court in weeks, and yet she's still running the show. In a league where headlines come fast and drama comes faster, Clark is proving something most rookies never get the chance to. She's not just a scorer, she's a franchise changer. And while the world's been busy debating trade rumors and speculating about locker room tension, Stephanie White, the actual coach, just set the record straight. Let's just say she didn't hold back. White made it clear, Caitlin Clark is not heading to Vegas.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
And no, she's not some media-made superstar riding hype. She's a leader, a worker, a future MVP who's already reshaped the Indiana Fever from the inside out. And that's without even putting on a jersey lately. While sidelined with injury, Clark has reportedly been showing up as the first one in the gym, watching film like a vet, and leading from the bench like a second coach. White says Clark's voice carries in huddles. Her insight shapes strategy. Her presence drives the culture. That's not just rare, it's league-altering. It's no secret that the WNBA is going through a shift. The old stars are passing the torch, and the new faces are here to take over. But what Clark is doing in Indiana isn't just about highlights and viral clips. It's about redefining what leadership looks like in year one. Stephanie White's praise wasn't sugar-coated. She called out the professionalism, the maturity, the grit. She basically said what a lot of people have been too scared to admit. Clark is already the kind of player who can build a championship team from the ground up. And the Fever? They're all in. That doesn't sound like a coach ready to trade her. That sounds like a coach building a legacy around her. So while the fake headlines float around about Clark jumping ship to the stacked Las Vegas Aces, White's interview crushed that narrative with one big truth bomb. Clark belongs in Indiana. And Indiana belongs to Clark. Her return to the court isn't just going to be a comeback. It's going to be a warning shot. Because this version of Caitlin, she's smarter, stronger, more dangerous. And she's coming back not just to compete, but to lead. The real story here isn't about where Clark might go. It's about what she's already building. And if Stephanie White's words are anything to go by, Caitlin Clark isn't the future of the WNBA. She's the present. Stephanie White had heard enough. The rumors have been swirling for weeks. Caitlin Clark to the Las Vegas Aces. Whispers turned into speculation. Speculation turned into full-on narratives. Clips, tweets, insider sources. Everyone seemed to think they had the scoop. But Stephanie White wasn't about to let the headlines run wild without stepping in. Because when your franchise is being dragged into the rumor mill, and your star rookie is being treated like a chess piece in someone else's fantasy trade, you don't stay quiet. You shut it down. And that's exactly what she did. Stephanie White didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She elevated her. She took the mic and with measured, confident resolve, reminded the league and the world exactly who Caitlin Clark is and why she's not going anywhere. The message was loud, clear, and impossible to spin. Caitlin Clark is the core of this franchise. And if you're thinking the Fever are going to ship her off to become a sidekick on a super team, you've completely missed the point. Clark isn't being groomed for a role. She's already leading, even while injured. That's the part that so many people glossed over. Caitlin Clark, despite being sidelined, is still influencing the Indiana Fever's trajectory. She's not just on the bench. She's not just watching. She's coaching. She's analyzing. She's influencing rotations, guiding teammates, helping shape game strategy. In Stephanie White's words, Clark is acting like a second coach. And that's not just fluff or sentiment. That's respect. It means her voice carries weight in the locker room. It means her presence shifts the mood, the tempo, the level of accountability. It means the team responds to her, even when she's not putting up threes or dropping dimes. This is about impact, not box scores. And White made sure to emphasize that Caitlin's influence is not limited to highlight reels. She talked about Clark's maturity, her perfectionism, her dedication, the long hours in film study, the thoughtful questions, the professional attitude. That's not the behavior of a star in the making. That's the standard of a franchise leader. So, to the critics who only see Clark as a stats machine, who think her value stops at her shooting range or her endorsement deals, Stephanie White has news for you. Her influence goes much deeper. It's cultural, it's strategic, it's foundational, and that's exactly why the Fever have no interest in letting her go. Because let's not pretend the rumors came out of nowhere. The team's early struggles gave people a window. Combine that with Clark's meteoric rise, and, of course, the trade machine was going to start spinning. She doesn't fit the system. She's clashing with the coach. She'd win more in Vegas. But all of that, debunked. Directly, Stephanie White publicly confirmed that there's mutual respect, that their relationship is built on trust and communication, not tension. She addressed the gossip head-on, saying it's not just wrong. It's offensive to what Clark has actually done behind the scenes. Because if you were expecting drama, the truth is kind of boring. Caitlin Clark is working, learning, leading, growing. And the Fever? They're building around her. White's comments were also a strategic move, a subtle but pointed message to the league itself. Caitlin Clark isn't just important to the Fever. She's important to the WNBA's future. Clark's arrival has revived Indiana. Attendance? Up. Ratings? Spiking. National media attention? Constant. That's not hype. That's impact. And White isn't going to let that be dismissed as a fluke or a fad. She doubled down and called Clark a potential dynasty figure. Someone who could lead this team not just to respectability, but to championships. This wasn't just a vote of confidence. It was a declaration of intent. Clark isn't leaving. Clark isn't unhappy. Clark isn't just the future. She's the present. And the Fever? They're not entertaining offers. They're making plans. Because what Stephanie White is building isn't a team that gets hot one season and fades the next. She's constructing something sustainable. And that kind of culture doesn't happen without a leader like Caitlin Clark. Someone who shows up early, stays late, and holds herself to the highest standard. Someone who uses injury time not to check out, but to check in more. Someone who understands that leadership doesn't start when the buzzer sounds. It starts in the locker room, in the film room, in practice. And that is invaluable. That's not a trade asset. That's not a nice to have. That's the whole blueprint. White made it known. Clark isn't here for a quick boost in ticket sales. She's here to define an era. And when your coach is aligning you with names like Kobe, Magic, and MJ, not for your stats, but for your leadership, that tells you everything you need to know. Clark's growth during this injury period isn't a silver lining. It's the whole story. It's been a crucible, a crash course in game management, in communication, in composure. And when she returns, she's not coming back as just another offensive weapon. She's coming back as a more complete leader, the kind of player who makes everyone better, who raises the ceiling not just with her talent, but with her vision. And once that version of Caitlin Clark hits the floor again, the league better be ready. Because this time, she's coming back with more than skill. She's coming back with perspective, with purpose. So let's stop pretending this is about a trade, or about market size, or about a team fit. This is about building a legacy. And Stephanie White made it very clear. Caitlin Clark's legacy isn't happening in Vegas or New York or LA. It's happening in Indiana, with the Fever, with her. The coach and the rookie are on the same page, the same plan, the same mission. And that's bad news for everyone banking on dysfunction. Because when a franchise is this aligned from the top down, when leadership is this united, it doesn't crack under pressure. It grows. So the next time a tweet or blog post tries to stir up drama about Clark jumping ship, play the tape. Stephanie White already gave you the truth. Now it's your turn. Do you think Stephanie White's comments finally shut down the Clark to Aces rumors for good? What does her leadership look like to you, even while injured? And how dangerous do you think the Fever will be once Clark is back in the lineup? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more WNBA deep dives, breakdowns, and real talk that cuts through the noise. Because the future of the league isn't being decided in the headlines. It's being built in Indiana. Stephanie White didn't just confirm Caitlin Clark's status on the Indiana Fever roster. She delivered a reality check to everyone who underestimated just how much the league itself has changed since Clark's arrival. Think about it. One player gets drafted, and within months, Indiana goes from buried on a broadcast schedule to primetime viewing. Merchandise flies off the shelves. Media coverage triples. Players across the league are being asked about her after every game, regardless of whether they're even playing the Fever. Caitlin Clark is that much of a gravitational force. And Stephanie White's comments prove something even more important. That gravity isn't temporary. It's foundational. Clark is here to build, not bounce. So all those headlines about Clark to the aces, or Clark is frustrated, or Clark might demand a trade, they're not just wrong. They're desperate. They come from people who still don't know how to talk about a woman athlete commanding this kind of attention. They're clinging to the old formula. Big star struggles early? Ship her off to a super team. Big star plays for a small market? Say she'll leave eventually. Big star has personality? Turn it into drama. But what Stephanie White just did was shatter that formula. And not just for Caitlin, but for the entire WNBA. Because here's what gets missed in all the noise. There's no Las Vegas Aces dynasty without players like Aya Wilson staying put and building something over time. No New York Liberty rise without Sabrina Ionescu growing with the franchise. And now, no Indiana Fever revival without Caitlin Clark leading the charge. That's what the league is evolving into, player-built empires. Not ring chasing, not market hopping, legacy building. And Stephanie White knows it. That's why her words weren't just about defending her rookie. They were about defending her franchise's identity. Because, let's be honest, when's the last time Indiana was even in these kinds of conversations? Before Clark? Crickets. Now, every major sports outlet is talking about the Fever daily, and not just because of wins and losses. Because of culture, because of influence, because of potential. And that's the word right there, potential. It's easy to look at the Fever's record and scoff. To say, if Clark's so impactful, where are the wins? But Stephanie White addressed that without even having to say it out loud. She's not just focused on this season. She's not chasing a short-term headline. She's building a sustainable powerhouse, a system that rewards patience, growth, and leadership. And Clark, she's thriving in that system. Even from the bench, she's proving that she's not here just for the spotlight. She's here for the long game. And that's what separates her from the noise. Because for all the viral clips and endorsement deals, Clark has kept her focus tight on the team, on the details, on the work. She's not ducking hard moments. She's leaning into them. And Stephanie White is making sure everyone sees that. That's why her praise matters so much. Let's be real. Most coaches are reserved when talking about rookies. They'll compliment the hustle, mention some upside, keep things safe. White? She went all in. She compared Clark's mental development to all-time greats. She described her influence as something that's already reshaping the Fever. Not will reshape. Already is. That kind of endorsement doesn't just quiet rumors. It sets expectations. And not just for Clark, but for the rest of the league. Because if this is the new gold standard for leadership, for presence, for influence, then the bar just got raised. Other teams can either scramble to keep up or try to manufacture drama around the ones who are setting the pace. That's where the trade rumors come in. They're not based in reality. They're based in disruption. The idea that a player this influential must want more, must be unhappy, must be planning an exit. But Stephanie White saw through all of it. And instead of issuing a robotic PR statement, she spoke with fire, with ownership, with intent. She didn't say, "We support Caitlin." She said, "Caitlin is central to what we are building." That's different. That's deeper. That's permanent. And it's why the league and fans should stop thinking of Indiana as a rebuilding team and start recognizing them as a sleeping giant. One that has its identity locked in. Because when a coach and a player are this aligned, when the culture is being molded in real time, with everyone buying in, that's when dynasties begin. Not in the big markets, not in the flashy trades, but in the quiet moments, like an injured rookie still showing up every day to lead. So what's next? Clark returns. She brings everything she's learned from this injury stint back to the court. She runs the offense with more clarity, more poise, more perspective. The Fevers start clicking. The wins come. The doubt fades. And suddenly all those rumors? Laughable. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just going to help Indiana compete. She's going to help them dominate. Eventually, gradually, sustainably. because she has the one thing every great leader needs, a coach who believes in her completely. And now, the world knows that. So, if you're a Fever fan, relax. Your future is intact. Your coach has your back, and your star is more locked in than ever. If you're a WNBA fan, pay attention. The power balance is shifting, and it's not moving toward Vegas. It's growing in Indiana. And if you're still clinging to those trade rumors, you're not following the story. You're just chasing the drama. Stephanie White gave you the real answer. Now act accordingly. The fact that a head coach had to publicly step in and shut down rumors about her injured rookie supposedly being on her way to the Las Vegas Aces tells you everything about where the discourse has gone. Not only is it disconnected from the actual locker room reality, it's disrespectful. Disrespectful to Clark's commitment. Disrespectful to the Fever's rebuilding process. And definitely disrespectful to a player who's been leading even when she physically can't suit up. The narratives? Manufactured. The rumors? Baseless. The agenda? Clear. Because in today's sports media climate, drama sells. And when Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, she didn't just bring fans and ratings. She brought a target on her back. Suddenly, everything she does is polarizing. If she scores 20, it's not enough. If she struggles, she's overrated. If she's quiet, she's aloof. If she speaks up, she's divisive. So when Indiana hit some bumps in the road early in the season, it didn't take long for critics to start whispering. Maybe she'd be better off somewhere else. That's where the Vegas talk started. It didn't matter that Clark never said anything. It didn't matter that the team, the coach, and the organization were all aligned. It didn't matter that, as White clearly stated, Clark had become more influential during her injury, not less. The narrative was too juicy. Caitlin Clark, frustrated rookie phenom, eyeing escape to super team. It writes itself, but it also ignores the entire reality of what Clark has been doing behind the scenes. While the rumor mill was spinning, Clark was showing up early, staying late, sitting next to coaches, reviewing game film, and talking through plays with teammates. Not in a performative way, but in a this is my team kind of way. And Stephanie White saw that. Every day. So when she finally addressed the noise, it wasn't to defend Clark's talent. That's already undeniable. She defended Clark's character, her commitment, her growth. And that's what separates this from your average media rebuttal. White didn't come to put out a fire. She came to lay down truth. She came to remind everyone that Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the Indiana Fever. She is the Indiana Fever's foundation. Her impact isn't theoretical. It's already visible. Let's run through it. Before Clark, the Fever were basically invisible outside of hardcore WNBA fans. After Clark, sellout crowds, national media, primetime games. Before Clark, a team in search of identity. After Clark, a team rallying around a clear voice, even from the sideline. And this is with Clark injured. Let that sink in. She's not scoring. She's not breaking records. She's not even playing. And still, she's the cultural center of the team. That's why the idea of shipping her to Vegas is so laughable. It's not just unrealistic, it's backwards. Because the question isn't, will Clark leave Indiana for a championship team? The question is, how long before she turns Indiana into one? That's the plan. That's always been the plan. And now, Stephanie White is saying it out loud for anyone who wasn't listening the first time. And let's be honest, this was bigger than Clark. White's comments were a message to the league, to the media, to every front office, to every critic writing off a young team just because it hasn't won fast enough. She's not just defending one player, she's defending a vision. A vision where teams grow into contenders instead of renting stars. A vision where rookies are developed, not discarded. A vision where leadership is earned, not bought. And that vision is starting to take shape in Indiana. Right now. Quietly, steadily, intentionally. Because while everyone else has been busy debating where Clark should go, the Fever have been focused on what she's already doing. Let's talk about that for a second. Clark's injury hasn't set her back. It's made her better. How many rookies go through an injury early in their first season and come out of it more respected by their team than before? That's what Clark is doing. White said it herself. This has been a period of growth, of perspective, of evolution. Clark is seeing the game through a different lens now. She's learning how to lead without scoring, how to communicate from the bench, how to support teammates without being on the floor. That's not just leadership. That's emotional intelligence. And it's rare, especially in a rookie. So when she returns, expect a smarter, more composed, more strategic Caitlin Clark. And that version is going to be terrifying because now she has more than talent. She has tactical depth. Now she's not just reacting, she's reading, anticipating, directing. That's the kind of player you build dynasties around. And you don't let a player like that go. You build around her. You invest in her. You give her ownership of the culture, which is exactly what Indiana is doing. And if people don't get that, it's because they're stuck in an outdated model of how star athletes move. This isn't the NBA. This isn't a league where a player demands a trade and forces a move to a contender. That's not how it works here. The WNBA is building something different, and Clark is a big part of that transformation. She's showing that you can be a superstar and still buy into a long-term plan, that you can have national fame and still be local first, that you can face adversity and come out the other side as an even better leader. And Stephanie White sees that, believes in that, is building around that. So yeah, the rumors are officially dead. But what lives now is something way more exciting. A vision of Caitlin Clark, not on a super team, but leading her own. One that's earned, grown, tested, and loyal. So the next time someone tries to float a Clark to Vegas theory, just remember, she already has what those other teams can't give her, ownership of something real. And that is how legacies begin. Your turn. Do you think Stephanie White's public endorsement of Clark changes the way people will view her role in Indiana? Is this injury setting her up to come back stronger mentally than ever before? And how long before the Fever start making real noise in the playoffs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. We're tracking every twist, every rivalry, and every power shift as the WNBA continues to evolve. Because this isn't just sports anymore. It's movement. An engine still runs through Indiana.